And here is something important that doesn't get said enough. Most people will experience some form of deconstruction in their lifetime. Not because they went looking for trouble, but because
In the quiet, I am undone. Yet I'm learning to stand. In the quiet, what once held me now holds no home. In the quiet, truth has found me. Will I choose to stay? In the quiet, I am undone. And still, I stand.
welcome back. If it's your first time around this neck of the woods, this is a space where we explore the deep roots of the ideas that quietly shape our lives, especially so when those ideas begin to shift. Today, I want to talk about something that gets discussed a lot online, often loudly and not always carefully: deconstruction. And more specifically, what people get wrong about deconstruction. Let's begin with a simple definition. Deconstruction is the process of examining the beliefs, the assumptions, and spiritual frameworks you inherited, and testing whether they still hold in lived experience. Deconstruction is not rebellion by default. It is not collapse by definition. It is not distraction. It's an honest examination. And here is something important that doesn't get said enough. Most people will experience some form of deconstruction in their lifetime. Not because they went looking for trouble, but because life itself brings experiences that don't neatly fit the worldview they inherited. Your experience outgrows your explanations. Your encounters outpace your categories. Reality stretches your framework. This process is complex. It's influenced by many environmental and relational factors. And I would go as far as to say that life itself, the mystery of life, often allows or sets up the very exposures and tensions that move us towards a more whole, more grounded, and even more inclusive spiritual existence. Not to harm us, but to deepen us. In that sense, deconstruction is not just a disruption. It can be a gift of life, an adaptive, meaning-preserving process that helps your spiritual center hold as your world changes. Many people misunderstand deconstruction because they think it starts with argument or with debate or opposition or even online conflict. But most deconstruction actually begins much more quietly, when lived experience and inherited belief no longer match. Something doesn't line up anymore. The answers feel thinner than the questions. The language no longer carries the weight of reality. That's usually the true beginning. Another misunderstanding is this. People assume deconstruction should be fought publicly, debated externally, defended or attacked on online platforms. But historically, deep spiritual turning points were not processed in debate halls. They were processed in reflection. Deconstruction is not primarily a time for external argument. It's a time for internal introspection. Argument rarely turns deep questions into clarity. Interior work, on the other hand, does. Across history, many spiritual leaders stepped away from noise, not towards it. Siddhartha Gautama left his palace and familiar structures to sit in silence and deep contemplation. Jesus, the Messiah, often withdrew into the wilderness for extended periods of solitude. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, sought reflection in the cave of Hira before his public teaching began. See, these individuals did not look first for platforms. They looked for stillness, for depth, and sincere learning, simply because inner clarity is rarely born from outer volume. Now, when deconstruction begins, people tend to respond in one of two broad ways. Some lean into the call, even though it's uncomfortable. And by the way, it is very uncomfortable. Growth often is, though. But discomfort and goodness can coexist. We actually see this pattern throughout life. Think of childbirth. Intense pain alongside profound joy. Think of a physical rehabilitation after injury. It's strain that restores strength. Think of learning a new language or skill. It's frustration that expands capacity. Think of emotional honesty in relationships. It's vulnerability that deepens connection. We don't always have perfect language for these mixed experiences where ache and expansion live together. But you know what? They are deeply human. Now, others respond differently. They retreat fully into their formative belief systems and resist the process entirely. Also, if I may add, many religious or ideological systems, not all, but many of them, protect themselves by labeling those who question. They say people have fallen away, or they have backslidden, or they have lost the truth or been led astray. You catch what I'm talking about. Often these individuals are distanced or socially cut off. In modern language, we might say they are cancelled. Yeah. It turns out cancel culture is not new at all. It has existed inside belief communities for a very long time. But here is my core argument here. The healthy aim of deconstruction is not emptiness. It is inclusive spirituality. By inclusive spirituality, I mean a spiritual posture where a person remains open to wisdom across traditions, practices, and perspectives, not bound to a single inherited framework, but not hostile to tradition either. It's a way of meaning making that recognizes truth wherever it appears. It honors our shared humanity and values insight regardless of its source. This is something I explore in depth in my upcoming book, Inclusive Spirituality, which is currently in its final stages and coming soon. I'm excited to place that resource in your hands because many of you are already living these questions. Deconstruction is also not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. Often there's a long information gathering stage. That's quiet exposure, unnoticed tension, and moments of mismatch. You may not even realize you are collecting data internally. Then, sometimes suddenly, the insight clicks. The misalignment becomes clear. The aha moment arrives, and you are invited to respond. You can often tell which path you chose by what grows on the other side of the season. If you emerge with deeper humility, a wider compassion, and a stronger sense of our shared humanity, chances are you leaned towards inclusive spirituality. If you emerge with a hardened us versus them framework and increased rigidity, you likely moved in the other direction. So when people say deconstruction is dangerous or weak or rebellious, I would say this instead. Unexamined belief is fragile. Examined belief can become resilient. Deconstruction, when done slowly, honestly, and reflectively, is not the end of meaning. It is often the doorway to mature meaning. If you want steady, structured support while you reflect your own season of deconstruction, I've created 2 free tools to help. The first is a weekly spiritual mapping and grounding guide to help you map your day, notice patterns, and name your questions. The second is a quick spiritual orientation check-in. It helps you to find language for your current life season. They are there if you need them. For those who want to go deeper, the extended version of this talk is also available on Patreon. I'll leave the link in the description below. And look, whether or not we ever meet beyond this space, I am honestly glad that you are here. Because learning how to examine your beliefs carefully and grow towards a more whole and inclusive spiritual life truly, truly matters.
In the quiet, in the quiet, I am undone, yet I'm learning to stand. In the quiet, what once held me now holds no home. In the quiet, truth is found.